Enclosures. Enclosures are the combination of approach notes and neighbor tones. If you don't know how to use approach notes or neighbor tones, you're fucked. You can't use enclosures well. But if you do, then you just combine them. So let's just go over what enclosures are and go over the basics real quick. So approach notes are just when you play a half step under a chord tone. For any of this concept to work, you need to know arpeggios, triad arpeggios. Without it, there's nothing to glue the stuff to. And the whole purpose of all these melodic tools, enclosures, approach notes, neighbor tones, is to outline harmony. If I know a harmonic progression, let's say a 2-5-1, then I can play all the stuff around it and make the listener still hear the basic progression. Something like that, and then I can make a line that goes like. So you could hear, that's a lame line, but you could definitely hear what's going on in the chords as I'm playing it in time. If I use enclosures, then it goes from that sound to this sound. Right? So it's more, I don't know, classical music-y or something. Right? It has like that kind of vibe, those diatonic enclosures. But let's see how we use them and what the concept is. So approach notes are just half steps underneath chord tones. So D minor, that's 2 chord in the 2-5-1 and C. I have D, F, and A, my 1 flat 3 and 5. I just add half steps below. Now, what's happening from above? You use whatever is in the mode. That's neighbor tones. So you gotta know modes to find the appropriate neighbor tones. Now, the 2 chord's a little funky because you can use either the flat 6 or the 6 on it. For some reason, they both sound killer. So here's the root. Here's the flatted third, just combining neighbor tones and approach notes. And now I can use either this kind of 6, flatted 6, which is out of the mode, or kind of a brighter sound with Dorian. Or I don't know why that works, it just works. Now, on the G7, if I use the tensions of Mixolydian for the neighbor tones, I have a whole step above the root, half step above the third, whole step above the 5th. And that same exact enclosure transposed for the 1 chord on Ionian. So check out the whole sound if I just arpeggiate away. I have D minor, G7, C. And I'm just using a Dorian kind of enclosure on the D minor, a Mixolydian kind of enclosure on the G, and an Ionian kind of enclosure on that C. Now let's change things up just a little bit. I'm going to start using that flat 6 on the D to get a different flavor. When I get to the G, I'm going to use the tensions coming from a different mode. I'm going to use Mixolydian flat 2, flat 6. So that's just going to be half steps above every chord tone. And then when I get to the C, I'll just do the same thing. Now check out the sound of that if I just play it in a row. I'll do it slow. Right? That's the idea, and it's a pretty cool sound. Now I'm going to add a chord just to make it wrap around nicely. I'm going to add an A7 at the end. So instead of a 2-5-1, it's going to be 2-5-1, 5 of 2. So D minor, G7, C, A7. And on that A7, I'll do the half steps around the triad. check out this sound. Pretty cool tool to get around. So these are diatonic enclosures. Now, what you really need to understand about diatonic enclosures is that there are many choices, not that many, but there are choices for the mode you're using, and you need to develop an awareness of what the mode is to choose the appropriate neighbor tones. For instance, if I want to create enclosures around G7 that come from symmetric diminished, I gotta find the neighbor tones that have those tensions. So what's that gonna be? It's gonna be a half step above the root, a whole step above the third, and a whole step above the fifth. Bizarre sound. In the context of a 2-5-1, I have this. That's pretty cool. I can take things that come from other places. I can do quirky things like maybe think about a substitution for the 5 chord. So instead of playing 2-5-1, I can play 2 sub 5 of 5-1. So now I'm playing over D minor, D flat 7, C. And now the arpeggio I'm trying to play enclosures around is just a D flat major. So instead of that 2-5-1, now I'm outlining the harmony of a D minor. Now that D flat Lydian dominant, which is just gonna be whole steps above everything. Right? Over that G root, it sounds... Pretty cool sounds. A lot of options, but this should get you hitting the ground running. I hope you dig this concept, hope you dig this lesson, and check out many more lessons. We have stuff coming out every day. Subscribe to the channel, hit all the buttons, leave a comment, join our Patreon. We'll see you next time.